Welcome back, Changemakers. This is an important question this week. Who are your stakeholders? It really matters. It matters both in life and in work. And this video is all about the who, when, where, why, what, how of stakeholders. So I'm going to give you an overview of everything you need to know, and then you can go off and do some really detailed research, knowing what's important. So stick around and let's get started. Let's start with the what of stakeholders. The definition, a stakeholder is somebody that's either involved in what you're doing or impacted by what you're doing. And that's really important. And when we get into the details, don't forget all of the people that are impacted by your plans. So that could be a change project that you're working on. It could be a change in your life. It could be a change that's directly involving one of your key stakeholders. Or it could be a project that you're getting up and running at work or in your community. But as I say, this is all about the what. Who's impacted? Who's actually involved? Who can you rely on? And who do you want to make sure you don't forget and leave out? Because the who is really important. So for example, quite often people wonder what's the difference between a stakeholder and a shareholder. Well, a shareholder is just a subset of all of your stakeholders. If you're running a business and it's a public business, then you're going to have shareholders who have an interest in what you're doing. But another key stakeholder group, of course, are your customers and your suppliers. And then there's the workforce. But let's just say you're in a team. Every other member of that team is a stakeholder of yours. They're impacted by the work that you do. Equally, you'll have colleagues outside of that team that are impacted by what you do, and they're your stakeholders as well. In life, we don't tend to think of people as stakeholders, but that's a big mistake. Our friends, our family, the people in the community, they're all stakeholders depending on what we're actually doing at the time. So why do we need to think about stakeholders? The bottom line is, it'll help you get stuff done. I know that's another one of my technical terms. The fact is, nothing was ever achieved by someone in isolation. Even the best solo sports players in the world, the golfers, the athletes, they all rely on the stakeholders around them in their team. You see, our stakeholders could include those people who are good at eliminating the roadblocks, or the people that add fuel to what we're trying to achieve, or even avoid the problems that are ahead. So when do you need to think about stakeholders? Well, in work, it probably seems quite obvious when you're setting up a new project, or you're joining a new team, or roles have changed, either yours or the people around you. Whatever's going on, thinking about who your stakeholders are is really beneficial. But as I say, we often forget our key stakeholders when it just comes down to a life change. But let's say you want to go and get more education. That's going to impact the people around you. If you have a young family, you're going to need to make arrangements with your stakeholders to ensure that the children are looked after. Or let's say you want to switch career. You're fed up with the life that you're living right now. You're not making the headway that you wished. Well, to change career, it's not just you that's going to impact. It may impact your family economically. It may have an impact in terms of needing to switch location. Who knows what the impact is, but I can guarantee you these types of life decisions are never achievable in isolation. For example, let's say you're going to move house. Like we are. You'll notice the shelves behind me are empty at the moment. We're boxing things up. We've got boxes everywhere. Most of the cupboards are empty already, but we've got a team of people that we're engaging to help us with the move. There's solicitors, there's estate agents, there's removals companies, there's friends that are offering to help, and there's even cat sitters involved. All of them are key stakeholders, and we have to keep in mind what's motivating them. How do we ensure that they're coordinated and helping us achieve what we're trying to do right now? So let's spend a few minutes thinking about the how at a very high level. When it comes to stakeholders, the first job is to identify them all. And I mean them all. Usually when I sit down with a team and we're mapping out stakeholders, they'll think of the obvious ones. The ones in the team, the bosses that have asked for the project to get started. They may even think about who the project's going to impact in the end, but they very rarely think about all of the other stakeholders out there, colleagues, people that may be supplying us information, people that can make a small but important contribution to the solution that we're coming up with. So identifying the stakeholders is the first step. My recommendation is to get a bunch of people together and just brainstorm everyone we can think about. And once we've identified them, we then start to categorize them. The point of categorization is to see if there's any work that we need to do with those stakeholders to get them on board, to help them understand what we're trying to achieve, or to engage them to help us come up with the solutions or break down any barriers. So we're going to want to know, are they interested in this project? Are they for it or against it? Or are they somewhere in the middle because they're not quite sure yet? So we map them out and do some analysis. And the same can be done with some of our personal life changes. So for example, a few years ago, I was sitting down with somebody who'd recently gone through a divorce, and she wished in hindsight that we'd done some of this stakeholder analysis as she was going through that process, because there was a specific stakeholder that she'd forgotten altogether, and that were the in-laws. Had she thought about them, she had a great relationship with them. It's just that the marriage itself wasn't working. As a result of not identifying them as a stakeholder who had a vested interest in the whole scenario, she lost touch with them, and actually keeping in contact could have meant a lot of things would have gone a lot smoother. Another great thing to do as you're starting to identify your stakeholders is think about them through the lens of the proclivities of the GC index. You'll have heard my previous videos where I'm talking about the 5 different proclivities, but at a high level, a game changer stakeholder is someone who's going to have a lot of energy to help you and talk to people and get out there and expand and come up with all sorts of ideas as to how it could work if you engage them. The strategists are going to want to see the big picture. They're going to want to know that anything that you're doing is aligned with everything else so that they can help you think about how it's all going to come together. The implementers, they'll love to help roll their sleeves up and help you deliver whatever it is you're doing, but you're going to need to provide some clarity for them. Whereas the polishers are going to offer you that really important critique. Have you thought about the impact? Have you looked at the way things happened previously to learn some lessons? And is your plan going to help us improve what we've already got? You'll know the playmakers, of course, because they'll be alongside you thinking about all the different stakeholders, making sure you don't miss anyone out. So the next step on, as you think about your analysis of your stakeholders, is thinking about how you're going to communicate with each of them. And that's where our stakeholder communication plan comes into play. So that's it. That's the who, when, where, why, what, how of stakeholders. I hope it gives you a good sense of just how big this can be as a topic and how important it is to get right at the start of your project. But as we finish off, I just want to leave you with one thought. Look around you and ask yourself, how many different things are going on where you are an important stakeholder? The reason for doing this is because as you start to look around you, you'll see opportunities where you can extend your own influence. You can get curious about the things that are going on around you, and you can find people that you can support and help. That's what differentiates the mindset of a change maker. They do look around them. They do recognize that they have some value to add. So keep looking around you. Where can you make a valuable contribution? How can you make an even bigger impact? Okay, that's it. Hope you enjoyed that. Let me know in the comments below where you think you're an important stakeholder right now. And I'll see you back here again next week. Take care.